Okay. Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order with the roll call.
Jeffrey Schultz.
Present.
Michael Lucas.
Present.
Charles Morris.
Present.
James Grogan.
Here.
Kevin McCabe.
Here.
Yes.
We can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Looking for a motion for the approval of the agenda as published.
Second.
Was it moved?
Yes.
So moved, seconded. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous approval. On to public comments, 3 minutes. We got a crowd. Anybody want to come on up? If you could state your name for the record, please, sir.
Is this one honor? It is. Hi, my name's David Lundeen. I'm engineer with HDL Engineering Consultants. And I'm here tonight along with our portion of our team, Heather Camfield, aviation planner, and Adam Bruscher, aviation engineer, to let you know that we have started in on the airport master plan process. City recently contracted with us to perform this master plan. It's a couple-year process, takes some time to get done. Funded through the FAA, 93.75% of it. And let you know that so far we have a website up and running where people can input comments. There's a questionnaire on there of particular things that we're looking for. We have performed a portion of, and we're working on the airport inventory, which will then lead us to where the shortcomings in meeting FAA requirements for the airport. And we'll be gathering a lot of public comment along with this, doing interviews with carriers, interviews with individuals, leaseholders, tie downs, just users of the airport. And accumulating all that information, making generalizations, that sort of thing. And then we'll end up doing a needs assessment and then identifying how do we meet those needs over the course of the next 10 years or so, is what this planning document's set up for. That's all going to happen over the next couple of years. We do have a public meeting coming up December 8th. We have little flyers that we'll leave in the back of the room. Make sure everybody here has those. The website is on those flyers as well. And just look forward to coming back to you when we have something to present and giving you information then. And always willing to take information anytime throughout the process from you or anyone else. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? Shy. All right, on to new business. Resolution serial number 2201, supporting the expansion of the Wasilla Municipal Airport. Mr. McCabe, are you going to read that?
Mr. Chairman, I move resolution serial number 2201.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
You want me to read it?
For the record, we need to read it.
Yes. All right, so resolution 2201 says, whereas the population of Wasilla and the entire Matanuska-Susitna Valley has increased exponentially since the Wasilla Airport was built, and whereas the surrounding infrastructure, such as roads, bridges, and businesses, as well as homes, have likewise multiplied,
while the Wasilla Airport has remained a very small general aviation airport with limited services, and whereas there remains only one heavily traveled highway to transport Mat-Su Valley residents to the Anchorage Airport, and whereas the expansion plans for the Anchorage Airport will increase aircraft traffic without a corresponding increase in runways, placing a certain downward pressure on passenger flights and traffic and creating a need for a reliever or commuter airport, and whereas parking and access to ticket counters and gates in the Anchorage Airport are necessarily time-consuming, expensive, and difficult for Valley residents, and whereas the increased population of the Mat-Su Valley demands the resiliency of an airport capable of handling larger aircraft in times of emergency, and whereas the economic opportunities for Wasilla, the Mat-Su, and indeed all Alaska from increasing the size of the runway, thus allowing in-state commuter passengers and in-state freight flights access directly to Wasilla and Valley businesses have great potential, and whereas the increased opportunities for rural Alaskans to gain access to expanding healthcare and emergency services of Wasilla and Mat-Su make it imperative that the size and scope of the Wasilla Airport be increased. Now therefore, be it resolved, the Wasilla Airport Advisory Commission requests the Wasilla Mayor and City Council immediately explore federal FAA funding and other grants for terminals, ramps, electricity, and an increase in runway length and clearways, and be it further resolved that the Wasilla Mayor and City Council take immediate steps to explore all opportunities within the local business community to find and procure commitments and agreements for future businesses on the Wasilla Airport, and be it finally resolved that the Wasilla Mayor, the Wasilla City Council, the Mat-Su Borough Assembly, and the State of Alaska Legislature place the Wasilla Airport expansion highest priority on their list of projects to be funded.
Discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
I think,
Go ahead.
we do public comments on this first?
No, we got a motion and we have the second on the floor. I agree with public comments, but that's
Okay.
per protocol. So
Aye.
unanimously passed. Being that only the new business on the agenda, any public comments for that?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Darren Spano, represent myself, my hangar partner, Mark Hoover, and perhaps some of the other residents who own hangars and establishments down on the west end of the hangar. The question I have is actually written down on my phone, but the question I have is, what is the city's plan to deal with some of the congestion that exists on the west side of the airport? The city has allowed some of the recent builders to build on the properties all the way out to the final line without consideration of parking or ramp space for aircraft and whatnot. So what happens is oftentimes there's vehicles parked, albeit on the leased space, or aircraft just simply pushed out into the taxiway and left for extended periods of time. Very difficult for aircraft down on that west end to actually access the runway without having to maneuver around static items. The taxiways should be for aircraft, but instead, it seems sometimes that taxiways are for enabling parking because parking wasn't put into the construction plan. So my question is, since the city allowed these practices to occur, one is, what is the city's plan to attempt to remedy that? And two, is the city going to continue to allow those same practices to build for maximum square footage on the leased lots without consideration of parking or ramp space for aircraft when they're pushed in or outside of the hangars? I think it affects an isolated number of people who have fairly large investments on that side of the airport. I know at times there have been concerns between property owners on what to do with their aircraft at certain times to not block the way for others to be able to get through. And I think that's something that the city should be planning for and should have planned for in the past. I don't want to come to the table here with just problems. I also want to present a potential solution. And that is that the current taxiway, and I know the long-term plan, I believe taxiway Alpha, where it ends right now at the westerly windsock, I believe in the long-term plans that taxiway may continue on past through the boneyard, what I'd call the boneyard, and continue on paralleling an extension if that ever happens. Remind you that this congestion is affecting not just people on a day-to-day, but it's also affecting the investments that people have made into the facilities out there. Whereas if it's difficult to maneuver and there's no space to get around, people are going to be less likely that if I decide one day to leave Wasilla for sunnier places, that I may not get what I could otherwise get because I'm in a high traffic area or a highly congested area, because it's not easy to maneuver in those spaces. So again, going back to my solution or proposed solution is that taxiway Alpha, if there is a way in the near term, to go ahead and just extend that out to the boneyard. And what that would allow is from the current taxiways just on the south side of the hangar cantonment area on the west side, it would allow people who are trying to use that taxiway to simply go one more road, if you will, one more taxiway to the south to access Alpha and not have to maneuver between all of the different obstacles that are present. Each time we do that, maneuver around static objects, we're running a huge risk for damage to the aircraft, damage to the static, whatever it is that's blocking the way, whether it's a vehicle or whatnot. Huge liabilities, huge risks involved. And I don't see any of that really ending very well if it comes to a point where something does occur. The aircraft in a taxiway, well, there's a static vehicle, it wasn't moving, it's not going to end well. I think the city would have to get involved in something like that, at least at that point. And I don't think that would be the time for the city to have interest in this. So that's my question. I appreciate y'all's time. I offered up a solution. Perhaps one possible solution is in the near term to potentially extend that taxiway out through the boneyard. Grounds level, graded, ready for asphalt as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure the engineers would say otherwise, but it may not be a huge expense, but I think it could go a long way to show the residents on the, quote-unquote, residents on the west end of the airport that the city is cognizant of what has occurred and is here to prevent, further occurrences of that. So just a real quick recap is that what's happening is when a lot is made available, that structures have been built to maximize square footage, to maximize value without consideration of parking. There's no value in parking a vehicle at an airport, but that must be part of everyone's plan if they're building a hangar. The city must require something like that. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry.
You please make sure you sign in.
Yes, sir.
Maybe I could ask Mr. Lundin if that's part of what they're looking at for the master plan, that type of info.
So I'll further ask, for the future plan, that's 2 years down the road is what I heard. It's a little sooner than that. Is that, okay.
Say one more time.
Well, I was talking to Mr. Lundin about we want it done sooner than later, and if it's a 2-year plan, we can't just run it with asphalt, but we can look at the situation and see if we can't remedy something in the meantime. We are also having another meeting on the 22nd of December, so we'll see if we have some more answers for you at that point.
There was one on the 8th. Is that still a go, the 8th of December? I saw a flyer out on the 8th.
Yes.
That's an HDL. Okay,
Oh,
great.
that's for Mr.
HDLs.
Yeah.
HDLs, yeah.
Okay, I'll see you at both.
Outstanding. Thank you, sir, very much. Any other public comments? Sir?
A little bit.
If you could come up to the mic and sign in, please, sir.
My name's Kevin Baker. And what I'm going to talk about is property that's at the end of the runway. So my understanding is this might go out to about a 6,000 foot runway. And I think that's a great idea. I've been waiting for this to happen for a long time. I did. It was about a week ago when I just noticed this on the website that the Wasilla's airport commission, whatever, is gonna do this tonight. So I think it's a great idea, and I'm hoping to get with, you said HDL, right? So when you extend the runway out 6,000 feet, it's gonna change the glide slope, and then that's where I would come in, but I think I'm gonna be okay as far as how tall a building you can build near the end of a runway will change. And I've been anticipating this for years, actually, ever since, I don't know, probably 25 years or so. And so I'm excited to hear this tonight, even though I wish it had been earlier. But I was hoping to get with HDL sometime in the future. And where I come from is there's a couple hundred acres at the end of the runway. That is where I could get involved in it. That's all the vacant land around the intersection of Church Road and Parks Highway and such, and a lot of industrial zoned land right there. And so I'm curious to see a master plan that shows where a terminal would be also. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you very much. Sir?
I don't know if this is the right time,
Absolutely.
so I'll find out, I guess, huh? I'm Chris Saloy, of Saloy Helicopters. Is this the right time? We got a letter about what's parked on our properties. Is this a good time to talk about that or not?
Yeah, this is open comments, so you can talk about whatever you like.
Okay, so we got a letter. I've talked to him. Asking for removal of cars and extra equipment sitting around. I can understand that in a lot of cases, especially down on the other end where he's having his congestion problem. That might not cure the problem, but in the case of your commercial operators, we have a lot of vehicles, and they're part of the company and they're part of our work. And I find no reason to remove our vehicles or our trailers from airport property since they're company property doing our jobs. They're there for contracts. So yeah, they come in and park, and they'll be sitting there all winter on our property, not leased property. But it should. What I'm concerned about is, I know you're looking at FAA funding, but if you go look at Merrill Field or International or whatever in Anchorage there, or any other airport, you'll find a lot of cars parked on the ramp, a lot of trucks. It's company equipment for company work. So Wasilla Airport needs to, I feel, differentiate between corporate or commercial operation and private operation. I'm not asking to park my fishing boat there, either one of them. I'm not asking to park the motorhome I don't own. But for instance, on our property right now are 2 travel trailers. Well, our company owns 8 of them for contracts because we put them out in the summer. And we're between contracts. Now, we just signed a contract. Those 2 will be going back out in the spring now. I've got 12 or 14 cars and trucks. And currently there's probably 4 being used. The rest are just parked for the winter. But come April, they all get used going out on jobs for transportation. So what I'm saying is that's company inventory, and it's on our lease lots. I leased that last lot specifically to park extra trailers and cars. We've had 3 break-ins in 4 years in our parking lot. It's not fenced. And I am not gonna ask my pilots and mechanics when they leave for a month or 2 months or 3 months on a contract in the summer to leave their cars parked out there. Because I have a lease lot inside, and 5 years ago I had one 205 broken into, one of our big helicopters. Somebody came along and busted the windows and got in, and they never stole anything, they just screwed it all up. That was inside. That's the only occurrence. I've since put cameras everywhere. You can't really see most of them, but they're all around, and I don't see any indications ever of anybody mucking around out there. So the inside proves to be a lot safer, even though the so-called fence is a wild-ass joke. You know, you leave it open for 12 hours to anybody, and anybody can walk in and if you have a mind to do damage come evening, all you gotta do is walk through, turn around, look, and the codes are there. Walk back out, wait till evening, punch the code, and come in. So that's not really protecting anything, but that's another subject. I think the owners of all the hangars and infrastructure that's been built out there can deal with passcodes if that's what it takes to get the security better. So it's kind of a 2-pronged statement here. But right now I'm more concerned with where we might be headed with, or where the city might be headed with the parking. It'll affect multiple different people, I'm sure. And it's kind of hard to sit here and say, well, I'm special because I'm a commercial operator, but I do have a lot more equipment than the person that has 1 airplane. And that equipment needs to stay where I have it. I shouldn't have to be forced to go buy another acre somewhere else to move my stuff. So I'm asking that you consider all this. You take a look around at other airports, you maybe talk to other airport managers if need be, and find a resolution. Before Archie left, he finally, after years of bugging him, got me that last little, I don't even know how big it is. It's 120 by 130, I think, foot lot. And they named it a lot. And I eventually want to build another hangar on it. I would basically have the problem he's talking about if I do. I'll have just barely enough for the hangar and be able to roll a helicopter out. I'm lucky there's no through traffic, so I won't be in anybody's way. But the backside towards the airport, or towards the road, in my drawing and what I've started to work on, all remains parking. So even with a new hangar there, I'm not going to open that up to the road. You have to come around in the gate. So all my parking will be in there also for long term. But with this economy and the price of building, it might be a few more years before I get to build a new hangar. The price went from $450 2 years ago to $700 now. And oops, that's out of the out of budget. So anyway, just, that's all I'm concerned with tonight is that parking and extra equipment situation. Nobody's caused me a problem with it. I just want to put it out there.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Saloy. No other public comments? Put it over to staff comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this? It's on. It's just low.
Close, test. Is
Pass.
this working?
You just have to know how to use it.
Get really close.
That sounded snarkier than I meant to.
So, thank you for all the public comments tonight. We are working to address all of those, and it's great to hear that it's still very important to everyone. Wanted to just reiterate again, we've got that public meeting, December 8th. It's at the Menard Center. I believe it's on the handouts. I won't try to guess. Read the handout, be there, want your information. If we have data that we can share in time for the December 22nd meeting, regular meeting, we'll have that as an agenda item. So pay attention to the agenda as it comes out. We'll work with the HDL to see if we have data from that we want to bring back. If not, it'll be in I believe we're meeting in January as well. So in the next couple months, we'll bring this information back to you. This meeting's kind of unique because it's a special meeting to deal with the resolution. But we are also going to be coming back in December with the lease rate information that the committee asked for at our, this is November, so October meeting. We've been working through the master planning study to compile comparable airport rates so that the committee can see that and start to talk about future financial planning in that respect. Okay. So we've been working to garner support for that master plan through current and prospective customers at the airport. So Crystal's been doing a great job reaching out to entities that have expressed interest or maybe never thought about the Wasilla Airport, and we're drumming up support because the FAA really wants to see increases to the use of the field to meet those minimum benchmarks so that we can move ahead. They want to see a certain number of takeoff and landings, and they want to see interest from the business community about using our facility because if no one's interested, then they don't want to give us any money. So it's that chicken and egg thing, and Crystal's doing a great job spearheading that communication and those letters of support. My deputy director and I have a visit to a couple other facilities later in the month to learn about what the Valley needs are for the aviation community. So we'll report back any pertinent information about that. And unless you have any questions, that's my staff report.
Thanks, Ron. Anything from you, Crystal? Is that it?
Co-pilot here.
Uh-huh. Go around the horn for commission comments.
Should have written it down. Wait a minute. Oh. Any progress on wings over Wasilla?
Yeah, there's been some good progress on Wings over Wasilla. We won't go into it here. I believe I'll be out of line if I did it. So, but at the December 22nd meeting, I'll put it on the agenda. I have two groups, nonprofits, but I'd like to get that definitely going.
Okay.
I have nothing.
Yeah, so I appreciate the public comments. This thing tonight is just a resolution to to the city council expressing our support for what, or asking them to do what we think needs to be done for the airport. So just to be clear, this is just very preliminary, and it's just our expression to them. So I introduced this at the last meeting, and I should have stopped there. I kind of led us down the primrose path of a vote, but we erroneously took it. So here it is. It was introduced last meeting, and you guys saw it, so we voted on it tonight, and I think that covered our bases for public comment. Might have even given it some more soak time for public comment. So sorry if I sort of confused Mason's rules and Robert's rules and the
Thieves rules.
yeah, and the Open Meetings Act and all of that sort of stuff. It's trying to keep them all straight, but I think this is a really good step. It's an important step for us to be in support of this, of asking the city to look at this, to look at what we can possibly do. And I think we, as I said in the resolution, we absolutely have to have something on this side of the Knik River for the large population that we suddenly find ourselves with, in a 3,700 foot airplane is, or airport runway is maybe not the best idea. And I also want to say, Mr. Soloy, I had the pleasure of flying with one of your pilots up at Nova Minerals 3 weeks ago, and what a class act, what a great pilot and great helicopter. We had a great time. So you run a quality ship there, and I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks, sir. And then last but not least, so yeah, I'd like this obviously just for the resolution, but definitely we're doing monthly meetings now. We've got that going. So I'd love to see more public so we can start working those issues, the crowd issues, the Lloyd, whatever issues those can be. So try to get you some answers for that by next meeting, which is on the 22nd. We are going to meet monthly. Definitely want to put for the other one is the airport manager. We've got to get somebody out there who's managing the airport. Right now it's a free-for-all, and I think that's what we need to get to. And then replies to the public, so we can check the code, get with you, sir, and the other folks about congestion and taxiing around and what we have to do to get stuff moved out that airport without hindering the companies who are paying the price right now. So with all that, just I'd love to see the public guys out here. Looking forward to working with HDL and getting that going and getting more educated on that. So that's all I have with looking for a motion.
I'll move to adjourn.
So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Copy that one.
It's on YouTube. Look it up.
It's on you.